Blizzard had a dream, an MMO so ambitious, so groundbreaking, that it would change gaming forever. Instead, it crashed and burned. But from its ashes, something unexpected emerged, a fast-paced hero shooter that would take the world by storm. It became a game of the year, an esports revolution, a billion-dollar franchise, and then it all started to fall apart. This is the story of broken promises, corporate greed, and a sequel that shattered fans' trust. This is the history of Overwatch. Welcome to PowerPlay, where we reveal the shocking truth behind gaming's biggest legends. Today, we're diving into the incredible rise and stunning collapse of Overwatch, the Blizzard masterpiece that rewrote the rules of competitive shooters only to become one of the most controversial sequels of all time. Trust me, you won't believe how this one ends. Act number 1. The Ashes of Titan. Before Overwatch, there was Titan, Blizzard's ambitious attempt to create the next great MMO. It was meant to revolutionize online gaming, a sprawling, futuristic world packed with cutting-edge mechanics. Years of development, countless design overhauls, and untold millions poured into the project. Yet something was wrong. Titan wasn't coming together. The game's direction kept shifting, and the more they built, the less it made sense. Inside Blizzard, frustration mounted. Rumors spread, missed deadlines, leadership disagreements, and a creeping sense that Titan was beyond saving. By 2013, reality set in. Titan was a failure. Blizzard quietly pulled the plug, and a project once hailed as gaming's next evolution was dead. But not everyone was ready to walk away. A small team, unwilling to let years of work go to waste, salvaged Titan's best ideas. From its ruins, a new concept emerged. A fast-paced team shooter infused with Blizzard's signature style and polish. It was a desperate gamble, but it had one thing Titan never did: a clear vision. Overwatch was about to be born. Act number 2, a heroic debut. BlizzCon 2014, the lights dim, a cinematic rolls. In a world of dark, gritty shooters, Overwatch bursts onto the scene like a shot of adrenaline, bright, colorful, and full of life. A wisecracking Brit, a genius gorilla, a roster of vibrant heroes unlike anything Blizzard had ever made. The crowd erupts. Overwatch isn't just another game, it's a statement. But behind the excitement, tension simmered. This was Blizzard's first original IP in years, their first true FPS. Could a studio built on MMOs and strategy games compete with the likes of Call of Duty and Counter-Strike? The team pressed forward, launching an early beta. Demand was overwhelming, so much so that access was limited, leaving thousands only watching from the sidelines, a frustration so widespread fans jokingly dubbed it Only Watch. Yet nothing could stop Overwatch's momentum. When it finally launched in May 2016, it was an instant hit. Critics hailed its tight, exhilarating gameplay, its heroes became icons. Blizzard fueled the fire with breathtaking animated shorts, transforming its cast into legends overnight. This wasn't just a game, it was a phenomenon. And for a moment, it felt unstoppable. Act number 3, the league that aimed too high. Overwatch was more than just a hit, it was a revolution. And Blizzard wasn't content with just selling millions of copies, they wanted to reshape esports itself. Enter the Overwatch League, an ambitious, multi-million-dollar project designed to be the NFL of gaming. City-based teams, sold to high-profile investors for franchise fees rumored at $20 million each. The New England Patriots' Robert Kraft, the LA Rams' Stan Kroenke. Traditional sports giants betting big on Blizzard's vision. When the league launched in 2018, it looked like the future of esports had arrived. Professional broadcasts, a dedicated arena in Los Angeles, teams like the London Spitfire, Seoul Dynasty, and Shanghai Dragons fighting for dominance. For a moment, it worked. Hundreds of thousands tuned in on Twitch. Fans picked their teams. Overwatch League was thriving. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. The city-based model was a logistical nightmare. Travel expenses soared, and some cities didn't have proper venues. Worse yet, Overwatch's complexity made it difficult for casual viewers to follow. A constantly shifting meta forced teams into repetitive strategies that drained excitement from the game. Blizzard had built an esports empire overnight, but like a house of cards, all it took was a few bad hands for everything to start falling apart. Act number 4, metas, mayhem, and missteps. Even at its peak, Overwatch was walking a tightrope. A game built on hero diversity and balance needed constant fine-tuning, but as the roster grew, so did its problems. The first major cracks appeared with Mercy's infamous rework, giving her near-limitless resurrect potential. Overnight, she became an unshakable must-pick, forcing entire matches to revolve around her ability to bring fallen teammates back. The era became known as the Moth meta, and players hated it. But that was just the beginning. In 2018, Blizzard introduced Bridget, a shield-wielding support with a devastating stun attack and overwhelming sustain. She was meant to counter dive compositions, but instead, she broke the game. Suddenly, the GOATS meta took hold. 3 tanks, 3 supports, 0 DPS. It was an unkillable wall of healing and armor, making Overwatch feel slow, methodical, and worst of all, boring. Competitive play became repetitive, pro matches lost their excitement, and fans who had once loved the chaotic scrimmages of Overwatch now felt trapped in a meta that refused to die. Meanwhile, Blizzard's content pipeline slowed to a crawl. Streamers and players began leaving for Fortnite and Apex Legends, games that updated frequently and embraced the free-to-play model. Overwatch, in contrast, was stagnating. Jeff Kaplan, the game's creative lead, reassured fans that big things were coming, but with updates growing infrequent and metas more frustrating than fun, many began to wonder, was Overwatch Golden Age already over? Act 5, The Great Promise and Greater Letdown. BlizzCon 2019. Overwatch 2 is revealed. A cinematic trailer, a promise of an expanded universe, PvE story missions, hero skill trees, and the kind of rich narrative experience that Blizzard was famous for. The crowd erupts. Even skeptics are willing to believe. But with that excitement came an uneasy truth. Overwatch 1 was effectively being put on ice. No major updates, no new heroes, no fresh content. Blizzard assured fans the wait would be worth it, so they waited. Years passed. Updates slowed to a trickle. The Overwatch League, already struggling, took another hit when Blizzard moved its broadcasts from Twitch to YouTube, gutting viewership. The ambitious city-based model had crumbled under its own weight, and a global pandemic sealed its fate. Then came something far worse. Activision Blizzard itself was imploding. A wave of sexual harassment lawsuits sent shockwaves through the industry, sponsors fled, Blizzard's reputation was in freefall. Finally, Overwatch 2 launched in late 2022, but the game that arrived wasn't the one Blizzard had promised. PvE? Gutted. The hero mode with talent trees? Scrapped. Instead, players got a 5v5 multiplayer shift, a controversial battle pass, and an aggressively monetized in-game shop. Fans called it a glorified patch, one that replaced a beloved game with something worse. The backlash was swift. Overwatch 2 became one of the most negatively reviewed games on Steam, a catastrophic fall from grace. The franchise that had once been a shining example of innovation was now a case study in how to squander player trust. Act 6, a community's hope and the road ahead. As Overwatch 2 floundered, its esports empire collapsed alongside with it. The Overwatch League, once Blizzard's billion-dollar gamble, was dead. Teams that had invested millions were now desperate to cut their losses. Sponsorships had dried up, viewership had plummeted, and Blizzard itself offered teams a way out, a final vote to take a payout and walk away. It was an unceremonious end to what had once been called the future of esports. The dream of sold-out stadiums and city-based rivalries was over. But even as the league faded, Overwatch itself refused to die. Grassroots tournaments began emerging, smaller but more community-driven. Microsoft's acquisition of Blizzard gave fans cautious hope. Perhaps with new leadership, the game could finally break free from the corporate mismanagement that had plagued it. Through every broken promise, every failed update, one thing remained unchanged: the love players had for the game itself. Overwatch's world, its characters, its team-based magic, it was still there, buried beneath controversy and missteps. Even as some fans left, a dedicated core remained, still streaming, still creating art, still holding out for the Overwatch they fell in love with. For many, Overwatch is more than a game. It's a memory, a perfectly timed Zyra ult into a Hanzo Dragon Strike, a last-second payload push, a Tracer blink that won the match. And despite everything, somewhere beneath all the corporate greed and bad decisions, that spark still burns. Whether it can ever shine as brightly again, only time will tell. Overwatch was never meant to exist, yet it became unstoppable. It defied failure, rose from the wreckage of Titan, and changed the face of gaming. It was more than just a shooter, it was a phenomenon, a movement, a world where players became heroes. But heroes fall. Overwatch's own creators became its greatest weakness. The missteps stacked higher than the victories, and esports empire collapsed. A sequel launched half-finished. The game that once united millions began to unravel piece by piece until its own players turned away. And yet, something lingers. A memory, a moment. The rush of a perfectly executed play, the thrill of a last-second payload push, the camaraderie of 6 strangers working as one. Overwatch was never just a game. It was a promise, a dream that still flickers. The story isn't over. Not yet. Perhaps one day the heroes of Overwatch will rise again. This has been PowerPlay, uncovering the untold stories behind gaming's greatest legends. Like, subscribe, and share your own Overwatch memories below. Because no matter how dark things get, one truth remains: the world could always use more heroes.